Welcome. This is Syeda Khan. I just wanted to go over some of my Quran teaching techniques that I have learned and that I've seen from different mediums to teaching Quran or Arabic. Um, so first, I wanted to go over a little bit of an overview of what kind of teaching techniques that we would be looking at today. One is learning techniques, right? Going over material, seeing, initial engagement with the material and just getting the child familiar or student familiar with the coursework. Second one is games to do in class as a break from just learning and to test in a sly and a subconscious way of learning through mediums through some games and as well as using some mediums for assessing students on either spelling or memorization or recitation of Quran or Arabic vocab. So first one I wanted to go over were specific learning techniques. This is mostly just introducing the topic to the student and introducing material. There are four main ways that I like to do this. One is a decorate as you go style, Arabic learning friend, and stories of the letters. These are more so for introducing the Arabic for Arabic, and then memorization is a later learning technique there is one technique I like to use for solely on memorization. So the first one that I wanted to go over was a decorate as you go style. This style is basically where you allow the student to have full control of their coursework. They're given their packet or their syllabus or whatever form of material that they have, and they get to decorate it as they learn their subjects, right? So basically, if they learn one topic, they can go ahead and decorate it the way they like to. It's not exactly where we're giving like instant gratification, but rather motivation to finish the picture, right? Because think of it like when a student is going ahead and coloring in a coloring book, right? The end picture is to fill in every single part of the coloring book. So now they're looking at their coursework as a coloring book. In order to color in each piece, though, they need to make sure that they understand the syllabus, right? And it makes the student feel ownership of their coursework. It's not like they're learning some other book that some scholar has written. It's that it's their book and it's that they're completing it as they go. This is better for around older students to the middle-aged kind of students. I've kept this up with my 13-year-olds. I've done this with my 5-year-olds. But like anything below the 5, 6-year-old range, students don't really see the need to finish it. Think about when a child starts to go through the phase where they need to start, completing tasks where they feel like they need that motivation, right? If you show this kind of motivation to a 3-year-old, they're not really going to understand it. So this one works better with your middle to older style children. Here are some diagrams of what I've used. Um, so the one on the left you'll see is used for memorization, right? This student had to memorize their first grade memorization chart. So basically I had asked them and I said, what shape would you like? And they said, oh, I want a triangle. So we made a triangle out of their favorite color. We, made little bricks in there. And as they finished, you can see if you zoom in a little bit, names of surahs, right? As they finished each surah, they were then able to color in with whatever color they like, with whatever pattern they like. You see we started at the bottom. Once we got up, the students started feeling more adventurous. They started feeling more confident, right? And so they started saying rainbow stripes and rainbow dashes and rainbow thingamabobs, right? Like all in there. So right as students start to feel more ownership of their book. The one on the left is of a student who is in first grade, right? The one on the right is of a student who's 4 years old, right? This one, I was trying it out with them. You can see a lot of the colors are the same colors, and this is because this is just their mindset. At the end, he kind of got a little bit tired and was choosing the same pattern over and over again. So those are my patterns at the end. But that's again, right? Works more for middle and older students. But again, it makes it feel like it's theirs. It makes it feel like it's their ownership of their coursework and just makes them feel in control. So this is definitely one aspect that I like to use. Another one is the Arabic Learning Friend. This works mostly for the middle to younger group of students. This type of learning style makes the student helps the student feel like they have a pet in class. And you're going to understand later what that means, because it makes the class feel more interactive. It's like they're, they basically, students aren't really interacting with one another a lot on the Zoom call, right? And it's hard for that to just be like them and the teacher. So this is just bringing in like kind of another student to the class as a whole, having that so per se student or learning friend being another student in the classroom. And basically the inspiration behind this was, I was teaching a student one time and they logged on and they said salam to me, and then they went in the corner and watched shows the entire rest of the class. And I was, at first I was like, why isn't he, why isn't he listening? But then later I was like, well, if I'm a student and on one screen I have my parent trying, or not parent, sorry, but my teacher trying to just, shove some random coursework down my brain. And then I have, a screen where I can watch Mini Force. I'm going to watch Mini Force. Right. So this was kind of just to show that, like, you have to make it seem like a TV show feeling, because students love TV shows. I mean, kids love YouTube. They'll watch it for like hours. And that's just like where their brains are at. They love technology, so making this feel like a TV show really helps. And TV shows need characters, so here are some examples of like characters are made. So right, one of my students really like Mini Force, so what I went ahead, I researched a little bit. Apparently there's like this main character named Sammy. I drew him, and I would basically keep him in the corner of the page, and I would kind of move him around, using a like a cut and paste tool. I would go ahead and I would cut and paste, and move him around. And basically, what I would do is, one game I would do is, oh, Sammy's gonna go ahead and he's gonna circle around a letter, but you have to go ahead and tell me what that letter is before Sammy gets too dizzy, and then Sammy's gonna feel really queasy and he's gonna feel really sick, and then he won't come with us tomorrow and be our Arabic learning friend. Right. So this really helped the student, because they thought that they were in the TV show, and they were like, they were asking Sammy questions. They were like, Sammy, what's gonna happen in season 3? And then I would like, I don't know, because it gets a little bit, sometimes if you use too familiar of characters, it can get out of hand. But another one that I really like is on the right. Most times when you share your screen, apps will, or websites will let you have a laser pointer. And if your students are young enough, they don't know that exists. And if they don't know that exists, well, you can just wave that around and call it, bluey. In this case, I call it bluey. Sometimes I have a red laser pointer, I call it ready, and so on, yellowy, greeny. And this, like, students love how fast it can dash across the screen, so you call it bluey, and they love it. And it's really accessible. You don't have to draw anything else to it. There's no association with other characters from this one, and so because of that, that's really effective tool. Again, we go on. Then what I do is, like, when a student starts to read Quran, like, I'll go ahead and I'll move that underneath the letters as we read, and they like to think that, oh, like, Bluey's like kind of growing with them, right? Because it's their friend. Again, because students, right, they're on Zoom, they don't really talk to other students on the Zoom, and if they do talk to other students, the teacher's like, hey, mute yourself, we're trying to learn here, right? And so because of that, having a universal friend that's there for everyone, that really helps them a lot. And so I've only seen positive effects from Bluey, from the Sammy one, maybe not specific characters from TV shows. That one can get a little bit out of hand because the student starts to mix up the TV show and the school, and they'll they'll want to just go ahead and watch the TV show, and they'll be like, ah, this is some, black market version of my TV show. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna watch what I want to watch. So I like the version on the right better. But yeah, any form of that would also be effective. So that was mostly for middle to younger. Now for just solely younger, and this goes more into also memorization of letters, like learning specific letters. Again, I wanted to instigate a TV show feeling to these letters, and so it's really hard to just show a student, especially if they're like 3, 4, 5. If you just show them a letter and you're like, this is G, and this is G because I said it's G, and it looks like this. So memorize what it looks like. Okay, next one is ha, and this is ha. It's like really hard. The students are like, what? I don't have photographic memory. So a way to help this is, again, TV show feeling, and every TV show has a plot. And so what I did was, here's an example. You'll see the three brothers over here, right? We like to call them brother and sisters in Quran, and so, like, because they look alike. So the first one on the right, that's Jim. So what I'll say is, hey, let me tell you something about this really cool letter G. And this letter loves to eat. Do you like to eat? Yeah, me too. But guess what? What's your favorite food? Oh, your favorite food's biryani? That's really cool. Let me tell you what Jeem's favorite food is. Jeem's favorite food is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But, Jim loves to eat. And because he loves to eat, he eats so many peanut butter and jelly sandwiches just all day. Peanut butter, jelly, peanut butter, jelly, peanut butter, jelly, all the time, right? Because of that, there's so much jelly in his belly. And because there's jelly in his belly, there's a little teeny, teeny dot you see inside his belly. And so I like to call Jeem, right? Jeem, like he has jelly, jelly in his belly because he has a little dot in his belly. And then people like, the students are like, oh, there's jelly in his belly. I've got biryani in my tummy. And I'm like, ah, very nice. Right. And so like, very cool. Then we'll go on to the next one. For example, this right? I'll be like, hey, do you know what Ha is a comedian? A comedian is someone who makes someone laugh. And when they make someone laugh, what sound do we make when we laugh? Ah, so this one is because he makes people laugh just like And you can come up with all different variations. It's just something on the top of my head. And the last one, right? What I'll say is, oh, now this one has a dot. Where does he have a dot? And now students are starting to try to get him. They're like, he has it on his head. They start to think of it as like a character. So like, it has it on his head. And, yes, it does have it on his head. And I'm like, and then they'll say like, oh, like a king. And I'll say, yep, exactly like a king because this is our king. But let me tell you a little secret about King Cloud, but don't tell anyone. Shh. The secret is that uh, he snores. Oh my goodness, he snores all night. He snores. Ew, and I'm like, can you make your best snoring sound? And then those kids will like have a laugh because they think that like snoring and farting is the funniest thing in the world. And they'll go like, and I'm like, yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, right. So makes the sound just like when he's snoring. So let's call him our snoring king. And they're like, snoring king. This also helps like when you're quizzing the students, right? You're let's say they're getting one thing wrong and you say let's for example, let's say you show them a picture of Jeem and they're like, oh, I don't know what Misaelos. And then you say, instead of saying, oh, it starts with the j sound and just kind of, you just gave it away. Instead you can say, hey, it's our jelly in the belly. And they'll be like, oh, jelly in the belly, Jeem, right? And I've never, well, like I've had students who started off with this kind of plot-based learning of stories of the letters and then move on to the Quran, and I haven't seen it interfere. Like, I don't hear like, like Bismillah. I don't hear like Bismillah, comedian, Ha, Rahman, Rahim. I don't hear that. Like, I hear like the actual letters. Again, with these things, right? Like the students will, it's just for short term. It's just so that they can learn it just a little bit once they get through the letters. We go on with the Arabic learning friend, we go on with the coloring, the decorating, and then as they go up, they start to, just kind of get the gist of it, and then they don't need these small little like um these small little moves and motivators along the way. So these are just some small things. Again, this is just Jim Ha. You can come up with multiple like Dal loves dal, and that's why his mouth is open because he loves to eat dal chawal all day. Come up with whatever. But yeah, another one is for memorization. Memorization, I kind of make its own thing because memorization is where students are prone to dozing off while repeating Arabic. Arabic is a really fun language, right? It's very soothing. So students are just saying "Inatayna kal kothar, inatayna kal kothar, inatayna kal kothar" with you. They're gonna fall asleep. It's really easy to fall asleep to Arabic because it's just really soothing. And another thing is a student could speak Arabic 100 times, and then if you ask them, you just say like, oh, if you distract them for a little bit and say, hey, what did I tell you to say? They'll be like, I don't know. Because it's just really hard. So something to keep that in their mind, to keep them active, so they're not just like, doing something else while they're just repeating it for fun. Animal hands. So students can make it their own or they can use a teacher's. I've come up with around, I think like 6 I have down here. So peacocks, owls, jellyfish, bear claws, fish, or unicorns. For example, if I were to do peacocks, I would have them do two fists next to their ears as they say it right. Inna atayna kal kawthar, inna atayna kal kawthar, inna atayna kal kawthar, inna atayna. And then they go out, 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 and it's like peacock. And then they can do owls. It's the same, same gist like in Nape and Kother. And then they get to do like the feathers of the owls. Jellyfish is like this, where they have, and then they can release the tentacles and they can go like, jellyfish, bear claws. They're the easiest ones. You go out and they go get, have like the students do like their best roar or so. And so just like that, unicorns right at the top of your head, you can do that. Students can come up with their own. I've had a student come up with like hedgehog with the spikes coming out like that. So yeah, really anything students can even do this. This is also a really good tool to use. For example, like if parents come to you and they say like my kid just doesn't memorize, or like how can I, keep it going? How can I reinforce this throughout the week? You can say, while they're watching their show, they're sitting down, they're watching TV, tell them, hey, like Jaffer, do your jellyfishes, or hey, Inaya, do your fishes, right? Like just like that, something easy to do in their pastime, and to them they don't even notice it, right? They're too busy making things, they're too busy like coming up with their things that they, while they're saying it to make sure that they can complete their their animals, they don't even realize that they were actually paying attention because they were focusing, right? If they're doing two mindless tasks, they're not going to remember the memorization. But if they're doing two tasks that take up their entire all their brain, it's going to make sure that it stays there and they have that retention. Okay, now that was all for learning concepts, right? Introducing materials and such. Now I wanted to go over games. This again, this isn't assessment or exams or any sort. This is just plain out, simple, fun stuff to do in class, maybe like a break day, Milad Nabi, whatever you want to do. Um, First game is my personal favorite, which is called Gimkit. Gimkit is basically like Kahoot, but you get money for every question you get right. And when you get that question right, you can go ahead and you can spend it on power ups. You can use it to like sabotage friends. Like you can ice someone's screen, you can blur someone's screen. It's fun, right? This isn't a method of exam, it's not a method of assessment, but it's a method of just plain fun. And you can, again, you can add, I'm going to show examples of how you can add Arabic into Gimkit. There are all these different types of modes you can use. Another thing that's different from Gimkit than Kahoot is that you don't have to have students log on to the Zoom with one screen and then go and take a different screen and play the Kahoot so that they can see the questions and answer on theirs. Gimkit, it's the question and the answers come up on their own screen. It's one screen. It's really easy. This is why it's kind of even easier for little kids than Kahoot. You can just go ahead and you can make it as assignment. You can copy the link of the Gimkit and just send it in the chat and students can log on that way. It's really easy. Here are some topics that you can use it for, right? Identifying letters, reading practice, spelling practice, and putting the sounds with letters. So here are just some examples. For example, this is what I use with my fourth graders, right? When you're reading Arabic, plain and simple, you're basically just identifying letters in the joined state. So this is what this is, right? So you have wahadaqa. So then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I made all these different variations, right? So you can see that the first one is the correct one. Second one has the wrong ha. The third one has a ya instead of a hamza. The last one has a kaf instead of a qaf, right? There's all these different things that are wrong with it. So the student has to choose the right one. So this is just basically another form of a reading exam, right? And it's kind of tricky, right? Because you don't really look at Arabic this way, but it's still a way of assessing reading, right? Because if a student misses a letter on the skim kit, they're probably missing a letter when they're reading Quran, because if they didn't identify it here, they didn't identify in the Quran. So that is one way. Um, and then another way is for my second graders. This was one which was identifying letters in the joined state. So I like this is at entum, but I only circled. You can see a red circling around the tat. The green, you can see on the screen that the tat is circled green. That's because that was the correct answer. So right, the way that you put these in is the same thing, right? The same way, right? When you go to Gimkit, it just says create a question, put in the actual question. And here I wrote identify, and then I put a picture of the letter, and then I just put random letters in the box and check the correct one. And then it'll make it all for you. A really, really unique part of Gimkit, though, is that you can choose many modes. And these are all, I didn't have to pay for any of these. These are all not free, well, yeah, free modes that you can play. And so they're really cool. You have hidden mode, drain mode, floor is lava, infinity mode, super rich mode, boss battle, team mode, classic human, like endless modes. This is what keeps it interesting because not only are students just answering plain out simple questions, they can also use these different types of mode. For example, I'll go ahead and I'll like say human versus zombies. It's where half the class is zombies, half the class is humans. And you basically all those half of the classes, all their points join together, and whoever at the end of the class has the most points wins. Will the humans win? Will the zombies win? Floor is lava, right? People are each getting money. They have to go ahead and use the money to build levels of the building to make sure that the lava doesn't go on top of the building. And you have to see how long you can last, right? See if you can last, and you can like build records with your class. You can be like, like boys and girls. Last week we got to 3 minutes. We survived for our building survived for 3 minutes. Let's try for 5 minutes, and the kids are like gonna really try. This is actually really fun in person, which is really sad. So inshallah, these tools can also be used in person too, because it's really fun to see students being like, someone needs to build a plank right now. Our building is dry. They go crazy. And there's countless modes, right? Those are just two, but there's a lot. Hidden mode. Students can't see who's getting on top. Boss battle is also really cool. It's one person against the rest of the class. This is a perfect way for teachers to even get involved because, like, in case you're bored just watching the students do it, it can be like the teacher versus the rest of the class. So the rest of the class's points all get mixed together versus the teacher. This is also really cool. Infinity mode. This is actually based off a movie. A lot of students will like this. It's based off a superhero movie. So the first person to get all 6 jewels wins the game. And the other ones are pretty self-explanatory, right? Super rich mode, the money is just multiplied. Drained mode, your money is constantly being decreased like $1 a second, and then you have to try and beat that. Team mode and classic are usually the ones that are used the most. Team mode is that groups of 3 will battle against each other, and classic is everyone for themselves. Another medium I like to use is Quizlet. Quizlet really only has one game though. It's a good game for spelling specifically. It's very individual, right? People just log on by themselves. Teachers can't really track this process unless you make a class out of your Quizlet, which you can. It's pretty easy too. And students can, and Quizlet is really easy for students to make their own. So if you want students to make their own games, Quizlet is a great, not Quizlet Live. Quizlet Live is the live game. I personally don't really care for it that much. I feel like Kahoot is just as well and GameKit is just as good. But Quizlet, like itself, is a really good Quizlet is a really good one because students can make their own. Right, when I was saying that you can input these questions and answers into GimKit, it was because the teacher had to come up with like 3 different alternatives and which is the right answer, which is the wrong answer. Quizlet is really easy though. You just put term, definition, term, definition. And if a kid can make flashcards, a kid can make a Quizlet. It's super friendly. It's really it's easy to navigate. This is best for your middle to older students. Younger students, if they don't know how to read, they won't be able to do this. So it's harder for the older students. But this is a great way to assign homework. You can say, hey, you have to make a Quizlet. We'll play the best Quizlet in class. Blah 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 blah. It's really easy to navigate. Better, easier to navigate than Game King Kahoot, and those are pretty easy too. Um, so that is also a great medium. Here's an example of the game on Quizlet. So this is the one game. There's only one game on Quizlet because the rest are more like study tools where you can quiz yourself and it's very individual, but this is a game. So basically you choose your difficulty, you choose what you want to answer with, and then you start, and basically you're just trying to save your planet from these asteroids. And what the asteroids look like is basically, so right over here we have Samet. So what like the student would have to spell out Samet in order for the asteroid to be destroyed. And that's how they save their planet from the asteroids, right? So this is a spelling game. If you're having a student that maybe, is having trouble with which had are they using? Are they using the stronger had or the weaker had? Are they having trouble with their tamarbuta? If they're having trouble identifying letters, spelling helps with identifying letters. So it's a more tedious way to address those kind of concerns, but it's a very effective in that. And it's unique in the way that it has you. It's not multiple choice, right? It's a written exam that's very fun. All right, so then there's the next one is word wall. Word wall is good for your younger ones. Most of the time, these Gimkin and Quizlets usually for middle to older. Word wall is a good one for younger ones, and it's really easy to navigate. Students can go ahead and take control. This is easily played with 3 to 6 year olds. And you can use it for all these different, you can use it for identifying letters, reading practice, spelling practice, sounds with letters, just like the other ones. It's really easy to set up, just like Gimkin and Kahoot. Here are some images. So you can see at the top, there's some interactives. These are like game parts. At the bottom, you can see printables. Those are actually really interesting. What you can do is if a student's having trouble, you can just send the PDF to the parent, tell them to print it out, and the student has worksheets at home. And it's a really good medium. It turns your game into a worksheet. But let's look at the specific games. So you have quiz, flip tiles, game show quiz, maze chase, random wheel, random cards, open the box, right? There's all these different types of games. My personal favorite and that I found the most effective with children too is maze chase. Here is an example of maze chase. So right, you have a red robot looking option trying to escape the blue monster marshmallow looking things. It's the exact graphics are a little bit weird. But you see, like at the bottom, it says find thought with the ass sound. Thought with the ass sound. So now the students have to go around and they'll go. There are many different ways you could do this. You can go ahead and you can send a link in the chat box and have students join on that way. You could have each student take turns by doing remote control on while you screen sharing, then give them control. You could you could do this as a class. You could just share your screen and the teacher could play and you say, all right, students, tell me where to go. And they say up, 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 left, 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 down, 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 crazy. Kids go crazy for it. And so it's very fun, very interactive. It can get very loud at times if you do that last option. But yeah, otherwise, you can send in the chat. Students can even choose if they don't want to do maze chase, they can choose the other ones. It's very they're easy to navigate. They can just go on the right and they can choose whichever one they want. This is a great medium too for younger kids, especially to play games. Okay, for the last one, there are exams. These are going to be more formal than those games, right? Because most of those games had outlying factors, right? You don't know if that's going to necessarily might like jeopardize their performance, right? Because these ones are more formal. And that would be Kahoot and quizzes. Kahoot we're very familiar with. I know that we've been using that for a couple years now. Who is more formal in the sense that, right, most of those questions they recirculate, right? Like if a person goes at their own pace, and then like, if a person's going really fast, the questions will just go ahead over and over again. Kahoot makes sure that everyone is getting the same opportunity to do the same questions at the same time. It's not randomized order. Everyone's doing it at the same time. So it's more formal in that way. So you have less, it's a little bit more accurate when it's giving it to reports. And it's a class activity, right? You can assign Kahoot as an assignment, but again, if you're using Kahoot for an exam, that wouldn't be ideal because a student can just look up stuff and put that in for the Kahoot. So when you do it as a class activity, right, you have the teacher explain the code. Once everyone's in, then you play one question at a time. If a student answers early, they just have to wait for the rest of the class, and then you go on to the next question and so on. So this makes sure that everyone has the same opportunities. Another thing is Kahoot, it'll let you know right after you answer if you got it right or wrong. So teacher is able to explain through these problems. For example, if Kahoot will go ahead and say that, like 7 people got it wrong and 16 people got it right. So the teacher might say, oh, well, 7 people, that's a lot of people. So let's go ahead and let's work through it as a class as they're going through the Kahoot. And so it's good because you don't have to wait all the way until the end for the teacher to explain what the student did wrong, because it's fresh in the mind, right? They see, oh my god, I got it wrong, what was it? They see the teacher explains it right then and there, they got it. Otherwise, if they wait till the entire thing is over, they'll be like, wait, which one was the one I had a question on? Which one was the one I got wrong? I don't even remember. So right, the teacher is able to explain through the problems after each and every question. So it's really well organized in that way. And you're also I'll show you some pictures about like accessing class reports. After the report is done, Kahoot goes ahead and tells you how much time did the student spend on each question, which students does it think that were the most at risk, and even it'll make a Kahoot of the most frequently missed questions. And you can even assign as homework too to try and gain data that way. So let me go ahead and show you, right? So Kahoot is basically formatted the same way GimKit was, right? You have question, maybe an image, and then you would have, this one is Yetasa Aluna. So then, right, this one is going to be the second one, and then you're going to press that's the correct one, but then you have these other 3 choices that are incorrect. The multiple choice exam. This is the report that you get. So this is just one area of the report. So right on the top corner, you can see there are 3 difficult questions. Like for example, this was the most missed question in one of my Kahoots with my 4th grade children. 27% got it correct. The other 73% got it wrong. And the average, I'll tell you, the average student spent 46 seconds on this question and still got it wrong. And there are 2 more questions just like that. So you'll see at the bottom in the green, it says, would you like to create a new Kahoot with only the difficult questions? So, right, if I did maybe had more than 3, if I had maybe, let's say 17 difficult questions, this would be really helpful. And I could just go ahead and we could do one class where we just do Kahoot on the difficult questions and we work through it as a class on each one. And this would be really constructive and really help the students if I see that, this is where they're having difficulty in, and it does it for you, right? I don't have to do the dirty work of checking every single question and seeing how many people got right and what percentage got it wrong. It'll just do it for me. So it's a really unique part of Kahoot. Again, it still has a little bit of those kinks where technically, right, you can see like if you got it wrong. So it's not the best, right? Because when we're taking exams, you don't get like instant gratification for if you got it right or wrong. So that it does not exactly like an exam. But it's a constructive way at evaluating the class and being able to help it in the best way possible that I feel. The last one that we were going to go over was quizzes. Quizzes is more individual, not as much as class, right? Everyone's basically working together by themselves. And the thing with quizzes is you can see if you got it wrong right away, but you don't see if the other class got it right, right? Because the thing with Kahoot is as soon as you get it wrong, you can see who is getting it right and who is getting it wrong. So let's say I'm a student, I got it wrong, and I saw that 90% of the class also got it wrong. I'm going to feel good about myself. I'm going to say, oh, well, that's not bad. And I won't care that much. I'm not going to work on improving myself because, well, the other 90% got it wrong too. Quizzes doesn't tell you that. If I get it wrong, oh my God, I got it wrong. And I'm not going to be influenced by whether a lot of other kids got it wrong too. So that helps in that way. But again, it is more individual. Students can take it by themselves. Again, you can literally just copy and paste the link in the chat. Students press the link, they get in. There's no side games unless you want there to be. This quizzes is very versatile. You can go ahead and you can change how you want it to be. And you still receive reports and you can also assess commonly missed questions after. Here's a little bit of just graphics on what quizzes looks like, right? So if a student is on there, they see their points in the right-hand corner where they rank. And then they'll see their streak at the corner of how many questions they got right in a row. And then, right, so like this is just an example question. I really haven't used this much because it works more for larger class settings. Right, so then they pick a question and then it'll go ahead and it'll tell them if they're right or wrong. And then if you'll see on the corner, it has these like blue and red icons. Those are power-ups. You can choose if you want these in your quizzes. Again, this is a really versatile way. You can choose what the student sees, what the student doesn't see to make it more like an exam or more like a game. You can choose how you want it to be displayed. And so those power-ups can help you, like you can ice your screen, you can freeze the time, you can double your points, you can whatever you want. So those are just like some cool things. So you can use quizzes for games, you can use it as an exam. You choose, right? It makes the teacher basically like in control of what the student sees and you basically make your own game. This is what you'll see at the end. You can, of course, you can do like anonymous names if you don't want to embarrass anyone, because this one obviously shows everyone who got it right and everyone who got it wrong. This is a sample classroom, right? So it'll show you in a series of green and red bars what percentage people got right and what percentage people got wrong as they're playing. And again, you can change it. You can make it anonymous. You can make it so that the leaderboard does not show. Completely versatile. So yeah, that was basically in conclusion all of some techniques for introducing material to students, helping with learning with the younger age group, middle age group, and older age group, as well as games to further that learning, and as well reward students and ways for them to get involved and make their own games. And the last one was mostly on assessing the classroom as a whole, finding reports and those games that make it especially easier for students to, for teachers mostly, to go ahead and work on those problem areas and really work with the class constructively through a really technology-based and innovative way of learning. So I hope that helps, and inshallah, I wish you best. Thank you.